Good evening. So, when we exchange pleasantries to each other, saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, you should see this as a Dharma teaching. When we greet each other, we say good morning. Nobody says bad morning. And this shows we all want to be good. We all want to be happy. So Dharma teaching is really everywhere, if you just pay attention. So when you say good morning, it's not enough just to say good morning, but you need to spend the morning by living in a good way. The great teacher Atisha, whenever he meets somebody, instead of asking how are you, as we normally do, he would ask someone else by saying, have you had a good mind? Have you had a good mind? Meaning that if you had a good mind, then everything will be okay, everything will be fine. If your mind is disturbed, then doesn't matter you are surrounded by your friends, you have a lot of money, a lot of name and fame, you can't enjoy any of those. Right? So have you had a good mind or good morning? It's a very important way to start our life. And then, because we need that happiness and well-being all the time, so it's not enough just to say good morning, we also then say good afternoon, good evening. So this is like those of you who do Dharma practice, it is really like the 6-session Guru Yoga practice. The reason we need to do the 6-session Guru Yoga practice is that we need to remind ourselves. People normally ask why do we need to do the 6-session yoga practice? Why do we need to do this 6 times a day? Somebody asked me this question. So in the beginning I was not able to answer that quickly. So nowadays when they ask this question to me, then I ask them, how many times you have to eat in a day? So for the body you need to eat several times. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and in between Kit Kat. Whatever, so many things we need to pop in. So just as we need to feed the body regularly, similarly we need to feed the mind regularly. Because the negative emotions are strongly entrenched in our mind. And the positive emotions are not well established. So in order to replace these negative emotions, you need to strengthen and establish the positive emotions. And for that, you need to practice regularly. You need to do training regularly. Look at the wrestlers. In order to build their muscle, they need to practice wrestling repeatedly. Then the muscle will grow and they'll become strong. So likewise, in order to grow the muscle of your spiritual practice, you need to do that practice regularly. And again, then gradually, the interesting thing with the training the mind, instead of training the body, is in the case of training the body, because the basis on which you are giving the training is a physical body, is a material body, it's a corporeal body. So it doesn't matter however much training you give, there is a limitation beyond which you can't go. Take the example of the world's #1 gold medalist in long jump. So that person is world's #1 in gold, long jump. And still, if he does more practice, he may be able to improve a little bit. But there never will be time when you can say that he is so good now this days he is jumping from one mountain to another mountain. That's impossible, because the basis on which you are giving training has a limitation. Just like you boil the water, it will boil up to 100 degrees centigrade and so forth. You still boil it, then instead of becoming hotter, it will evaporate. You see? Now in the case of the mind, however much training you give, it has space for growth. It's really amazing, you see. And based on this, we talk about getting enlightened, completely enlightened, which is almost like an impossible task for us. Unbelievable thing that somebody, without any negative emotion and having all the positive qualities, very difficult to believe right now. But if you test yourself, how much you learned when, in your school, in the beginning you don't know even how to say ABCD. Then gradually not only you learn that, but you become an expert and you do your PhD and expert in this subject, that subject, without difficulty. And still, there is much room for development. Now science is supporting that Buddhist notion. According to the classical science, they believe that the human brain, as you grow older, it will become hardened. Then you will suffer from old age disease, which is called dementia. And then you will not be able to think properly, your brain will not work. That was the stance of the old physics, old neuroscience. Now they are saying neuroplasticity. The more you give training, the more you work with the brain, it will become plastic. Even when you physically grow old, the brain still can be very elastic or very plastic. Now, this is very similar to the Buddha's teaching, that the mind's capacity to remain fresh, clear, even when you grow old. I mean, look at His Holiness Dalai Lama. He's 84. His brain and his mind is so clear, is so sharp, because he has undergone that training. Right? So your body may be a little bit fragile when you grow old, but the mind can still be very clear and very sharp. Right? So that's good news. The more you train the mind, the more there is a space. Einstein did not say that I know so much that now there's no room in my brain or in my mind. And he said, although many people, see me almost like a god, Einstein. But he said, I actually know very little. The very little knowledge that I have very clear idea about that little knowledge, and I am able to talk about it, able to explain it. Therefore many people get mystified. They think, oh, Einstein is so clever. But he said, I know nothing, you see. So what he is saying is that there is almost limitless capacity for mental development, and especially, the brain and especially the mental development. So that's good news. And that mental development, we individually have to do that. Nobody can do that for you. And that's why the Buddha said, I have shown you the path to Nirvana. Nirvana is up to you. Buddhas are your teachers. You have to do the homework. They can only teach, but unless you practice, no one can practice that for you. And elsewhere he said, the Buddhas do not wash the sins of sentient beings with water. The Buddhas cannot remove the sufferings of sentient beings with their hand. The Buddhas cannot transfer their realization into the mind of others. They can only show the path of the truth, path of suchness, and you need to practice that. You need to practice that. Right? So therefore this teaching, self is the protector of the self, no one else can be protector, is a perfect teaching. Self is the protector of the self. There's no point, not much use blaming others for your misery, for your suffering, for your problem. You need to make that effort. You need to change your mental attitude. And if you're able to do that, whatever be the situation, especially even difficult situation, you will be able to handle it. Because it is a mental perspective. It is a mental perspective. You can solve it. You can handle it. Right? Then on a more deeper stance, everything that we are experiencing is like a dream. There's really nothing to gain, nothing to lose from the perspective of shunyata or emptiness. Everything is like a dream. When it says like a dream, in the dream, if you get a dream of winning $1 billion, you feel very happy when you're dreaming, right? When you're dreaming, you're very happy. I got $1 billion. But next morning when you wake up, there's not even a single dollar. Will you die of shock? No, because you know that was a dream. That was a dream. So similarly, whatever gains and losses that we experience in our life, if you're able to see it as a dream, you'll not get shocked, you see. So it's all dependent upon human perspective, how much you are able to see the reality, right? So that's why, as we studied a little bit yesterday, it's important to deal with these negative emotions. When we talk about doing Dharma practice, it's really not visiting a temple. It is not really circumambulating the temple, okay? And this one particular story which I've shared many times, some of you must have heard this from other teachers or from me, and which I want to share again, is at the time of this great teacher Dromtomba, who was the foremost student of Atisha. He was a lay person, but a great teacher. So once he saw a young monk reading holy scriptures in a temple. Then Dromtomba, this great teacher, went there and he said, "It's wonderful you are reading this holy scripture, but it is better you do Dharma practice." He said, "Oh, reading Dharma scripture is not a practice, it looks like, because he's a great teacher. What should I do?" "Oh, I know, circumambulation." Then he started going around the temple as many of us do. Then he again met this great teacher. He said, "It's wonderful you are circumambulating, but it's better you do Dharma practice." Then he said, "What? This one also doesn't look like Dharma practice. What should I do?" "Yes, meditation. Meditation." Then he went inside the temple and observed all the postures and started meditating. Then the teacher came and again said, "It's good you are doing meditation, but it's better you do Dharma practice." He was completely lost, and he said, "During all these practices you said it's good but better do Dharma practice. I completely failed to understand how to do Dharma practice. Great teacher, please teach me." Then the teacher said, "Make your mind go to Dharma. Stop clinging to this life." 2 words. Beautiful. Make your mind go to Dharma. This is important. Normally we may observe all kinds of postures. Like for example today, meditation has become almost like a household word. Everywhere it is hitting the headlines of the Newsweek or New York Times. Everywhere people are doing meditation, yoga, and especially now it is becoming a booming business, unfortunately. People try to sell everything. Everything today, unfortunately, is almost like everything is for sale. So they are selling the spiritual practices also, right? So you go to a 5-star hotel, there is meditation, things like that, and people sit there. Go to a Dharma center, people sit there. And normally in the West, people work very hard in the day. Then in the evening, when they have time, they go to a Dharma center because they have been working the whole day. They are very tired, and when they go to Dharma center, they observe the posture of meditation, but actually sleeping. And then after that short nap, gets back and says, "Wow, the meditation was so useful, so peaceful." Believe me, this is not meditation. You are taking rest. I'm not jealous that somebody is taking rest, but this is not meditation. You know the meaning of meditation? Basically, when we say concentration, 2 kinds of meditation, one-pointed meditation and analytical meditation. One-pointed concentration. How can we do the one-pointed concentration? Many teachers will tell you many methods. You have the image of the Buddha, concentrate on it. Or you have the face of your teacher, concentrate on it. Or you have the mental image of the stupa, concentrate on it, don't think anything else. All these are wonderful teachings. I also give this kind of teaching. But the main idea behind concentration. What do you mean by concentration? And who will do that concentration? You will concentrate only when you have seen the misery, seen the suffering, seen the problem. If this room is suddenly, this room suddenly catches fire, I don't have to ask you to concentrate. how to save your life. You will immediately concentrate and see whether it's better to jump from the window or whatever. You will concentrate for that one thing, that is to save your life. I don't have to tell that you observe this posture, that posture. You will concentrate because you have seen the imminent danger. You have seen the imminent risk. So that means that normally when we ask to do one-pointed concentration, it's good. But the real idea behind concentration is not there. If somebody who has really seen the faults, the shortcomings and the defects of the samsara, that person will immediately meditate, immediately concentrate, oh my goodness, death will come any time. And after death, where I'm going to be born, I have no guarantee. Thinking all these things, and then particularly seeing the sufferings of the so-called mother sentient beings, one will immediately concentrate. Like for example, take the example of mother who has only one small little cute child, and that child suddenly falls into a pit of fire. What would the mother do? She will concentrate, use her all energy to save the life of that child. Right? Because she has seen the risk, she has seen the danger. This is not something that I can postpone, I have to do it immediately. You think about all the means and methods to save the life of your child. Concentration will be there, it will come automatically. And when we don't have that understanding of limitation of samsara and so forth, the teachers will tell you, the experts will tell you, do this, observe this posture. Yes, you do it, it's a wonderful feel-good practice, but it's not going to help you much in dealing with the negative, destructive emotions, which are the source of suffering. So concentration will come automatically if you have some understanding of impermanent nature, suffering nature of our life, of samsara. Right? Concentration will come automatically. So long that feeling is not there, all our practices will basically become feel-good practices. Looks like practices. People are going around the temple, chanting the mantra, reading some holy scriptures, even observing the posture of a meditator. Looks good. But deep down, your mind is primarily influenced by the samsaric, the activities within the samsara, within this life. You are focused on this life, benefits of this life. That's why we fear death. Nobody wants to die. We fear death. Why we fear death? What is the meaning when you say you fear death? When you say you fear death, it means you want to live. Live where? Samsara. You don't fear samsara. You fear death. You want to stay in the samsara. For the sake of saying, we all say, oh, samsara, it's negative, destructive. But we all, at the deep down in the heart, we all think, so far samsara is okay. It's good, I want to live, I don't want to die, you see. Right? So as I said yesterday, the question is not how long you live. The question is how you live each and every day, each and every hour. So each hour, every day, every month, you should really lead a meaningful life, happy life. A meaningful, happy life will come if you try to benefit others as much as you can, and as His Holiness says, help others as much as you can, and if you cannot help, at least refrain from harming. So simple, so precise, you see. Then happiness will be there. Then the meaning of human life is fulfilled. And His Holiness used to always say that in your life, if you are able to benefit at least 10-20 people, then your journey, your visit to this planet is meaningful. If you are not able to do that, you become a millionaire, billionaire and all those things. So what? When you die, you can't take any of these things with you. Nothing. Right? So therefore, what I'm trying to say is, the target of Dharma practice is to bring happiness within yourself and happiness within all, not only human beings, all sentient beings. And the one enemy, or in fact the only enemy that obstructs us getting that happiness and peace is negative emotion. Like anger, jealousy, hatred, and so forth. Countless negative emotions are there. So in this case, you just don't need to read only the scripture, but you should find that out by yourself. For example, anger, we call it destructive emotion. Now without reading the text, just based on your own experience, find out where the pros and cons and see how much benefit you got from anger, how much destruction you got from anger, and where the pros and the cons. Anger, all of us have this experience, right? Is there anybody who never got angry? All of us got angry. We get at least frustrated and upset and angry and so forth. Now when you get angry, what happens? First of all, it will make you ugly. Is there anybody who wants to become ugly? Nobody wants to become ugly. That's why we decorate ourselves all the time, put all the heavy cosmetics and make the hair and then comb and so many, then earring and fingering and so many things. We decorate ourselves. So after all this decoration of dangling gold earrings and everything, after all these beautiful decorations and nice clothes, you get angry. You have all these beautiful ornaments, but when you get angry, even with all these decorations, ornaments, you look horrible. You don't look beautiful. But if your mind is calm, look at the image of Buddha. He doesn't even have hair. Look at His Holiness. He doesn't have hair proper, the long hair like us. They don't use cosmetics and things like that. They don't have that gold ornaments and things like that. But with their gentle smile, peaceful attitude. Everybody is dying to see His Holiness Dalai Lama. I just got a glimpse of His Holiness Dalai Lama. You see? That's the beauty. His Holiness is not going around the world distributing dollars. Then why people are rushing after Him? Normally people run after money. People rush after His Holiness because they're able to get that fatherly love, affection, genuine care, genuine concern. You see? Right? The king Bimbisara, who was living at the same time with the Buddha, and he said as a king he had a lot of responsibilities. So whenever he is unable to handle his responsibilities and has difficulty, then he would say, either I go and sit with the Buddha, or I go and sit under a big tree. You see? We'll read in this book also, it's always good to go out into the nature. Nature, they will not gossip about you. Human beings will gossip about you. He did this, so many things. Right. So therefore what I'm saying is, when you have this inner beauty of calmness, kindness, loving kindness and patience and so forth, the Buddha in one of his sutra, he says, when you have that compassion, the peace in your mind, then there is a relaxation. When there is a relaxation, there is proper flow of the energy in your channels. And with that, there is proper flow of blood. When there is proper blood circulation, including on your face becomes radiant, beautiful. You see? But when you are competitive, angry, jealous, and then your face also doesn't show that sign of radiance, but always like wrinkles and things like that, right? So therefore, the real beauty is inner beauty, through which you can also get the external beauty. So anger makes you ugly. So now you have to decide whether you want to become ugly or handsome or beautiful. Your choice is yours. Okay? Second, when you get angry, you become crazy. And this is a phrase we use, that he was mad with anger. He was crazy with anger. You want to get crazy? You want to get mad? A mad person is somebody who is unable to distinguish between what is right, what is wrong. That exactly happens when you get angry. You are unable to see what you are saying, what you are physically acting, right? And that leads to even killing people. You are completely mad and insane. And it is this insanity, due to anger and so forth, that we see so many conflicts and wars and killings even today in the world. So insanity. So this is your choice, whether you want to become a mad person or sane person. Sane or insane. Which one you want to become? Second choice. Third, when you get angry, your blood pressure increases. You suffer from hypertension. Right? So you want to get those diseases? Choice is yours. Right? And when you get angry, you will lose many of your friends. So you want many friends or without any friend? Choice is yours. So many things can be said, even in terms of financial loss and gain. I got a book a few years back, written somebody in America, where that person has written, through anger, billions of dollars are lost in a year in America. Similarly in other countries. Look at this. We are not only talking about liberation, enlightenment, in terms of your financial stability also. When you are angry, then you do the rash driving. Then you fight with other people, shoot other people. We have seen so many of those shootings, you see. And there is road accident. Billions of dollars are lost, imagine, financially. So it's not good. The one justification for getting angry is people say, no, such and such person has been bullying me for a long, long time. I practice patience, but still this person is bullying. So I could not tolerate more. So I got very angry today and I said everything that I want to say. This anger gave me the boldness to do the things on the spot, you see. So that is the way they justify. Anger is sometimes necessary to take bold decisions. That's what we think. But as he always says, yes, anger gives you some extra energy, but that extra energy is essentially blind energy. So it is unsure whether it will hit the target or not. And that's what we do when we fight with somebody with anger. You know, instead of hitting the person to whom you want to hit, you will hit the mediator. Right? So there are so many things we can talk about, the disadvantages of anger. And in fact, somebody said, then your another justification is, I get angry because this person has been saying all the nasty things about me. Or this person has hurt me. Okay, and then if this is your justification, then when you are like, your hands are moving like this, if your hand hits a bottle or a table or a glass or something, and it got hard and it's bleeding, then you should also hit back to the table. When your hand is hit by a thorn, will you hit the thorn back? Will you? Will you? Because it's the thorn that has hurt you. You will not. Because again you will try to be clever. Yeah, that I know, but the thorn has no wish to harm me, you know. So therefore I am not angry with that person, that thorn. But the person, his, capacity to think. So intentionally he hit me, so therefore I hit him. Then Shantideva answers this by saying, in that case, the real troublemaker is not that person, but the negative emotion inside that person. So you don't get angry with like somebody hits a stick with you, you don't get angry with the stick. You don't get angry with the real negative emotion, which is the motivator. You select the person in between and get angry with that. It's stupid. And one master said, in this case, the dogs are more clever than human beings. If you hit a dog with a stone, the dog will not run to you first. The dog will run after the stone. Then after that, they will run to the person who threw the stone, you see. Right? And then, of course, in the long run, if you think about that person, who did this wrong thing, has many other problems, negative emotions and so forth. So there are many, many ways of thinking it. So I give you homework. Read Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara. How many of you have read Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara? I think many. Not many, huh? Surprising. Raise your hand. When you have done something good, you should be happy. 3, 4, 5, only 8, 9 people, See? Read Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara. Amazing text. And especially now, all the commentaries are also available in English. Not in one book, but there are many, many books. Read that. It will completely change your life. Best book on ethics, written in the 8th century. Okay, I'm reading some of the verses here. Right? So therefore, I'm giving you just one example of how destructive a negative emotion like anger. Similarly, attachment. Similarly, jealousy. So you should sit down and then figure out how destructive attachment is, how destructive jealousy is, how destructive negative competitions, and so forth. Right? So when we talk about cultivating positive emotions, removing negative emotions, it's like making friendship. The more you spend time with somebody, the more you see the good qualities of that person, then you become very close, you become friend. The more you spend time with somebody, the more you see the ugly side of that person, then you develop this wish to distance yourself from this person. I have to be very careful about this person. So similarly with the negative emotions, you should see the disadvantages, the destructiveness of the negative emotions. Right? The more you are able to see the positive qualities of loving kindness and compassion and so forth, the more you feel like developing this. So to summarize, what I'm really saying is, the one thing that we need to do, all of us, for our immediate happiness, long-term happiness, or your Dharma practice, whatever you call, one thing that is really important is to find out all these negative emotions, highlight their bad qualities, destructive qualities, right? Because these negative emotions will destroy you, destroy your peace. These negative emotions will destroy all sentient beings, their happiness. Negative emotions will destroy your ethics, your morality, everything. So fighting with the negative emotions, that's our only responsibility. There are many auxiliary supporting practices, but the target is, we talk about cultivating bodhicitta, cultivating wisdom, understanding, emptiness. For what? Fighting with these negative emotions. Right? So that's important. If you are doing that, wherever you are doing good practice. If you are not doing that, whether you look like a monk or a tantric practitioner or whatever, so long as you leave the negative emotions intact within you, you are not doing Dharma practice. Right? That is important to know. So, now out of the many ways of transforming the mind, one very important method of transforming the mind is neutralizing the 8 worldly concerns. Yesterday we read a little bit about 8 worldly concerns. Now, neutralizing, right? Not being bothered by these 8 worldly concerns. That practice we need to do. So, Shantideva in his 8th chapter, still I'm not reading, okay? I'm reading, but a different Tibetan text. I'll soon read that book, that one also. So most of us, as is highlighted in the chapter on concentration, most of us, Shantideva says, when we somebody higher above us, richer above us, we develop jealousy. It's very surprising how jealousy comes. I give you an example. Now there are so many of you are listening to me, I'm giving this teaching, explaining this teaching, and then let us say somebody just comes in, quite wealthy person, and he says, oh wonderful, you are all doing Dharma practice. and I really want to support you. And he starts giving $100 to all of you. All of you. I wish this is true, right? So $100 to all of you. And he doesn't give that dollar to me. Actually, I should get at least, if not 200, I should get 100. But he doesn't give me. He gives this $100 to all of you, not to me. I will feel a little bit uncomfortable. This is jealousy. Otherwise, whether he comes and gives $100 to all of you or gives nothing to all of us, it's same to me. But when he doesn't give to all of us, I don't care. But when he comes and gives $100 to each of you and not me, then how come, you know? This is jealousy. If you don't have jealousy, then you should, even if that person doesn't give any dollar to you, you feel very happy. Okay, all these people got $100. Wonderful. Do we say things like that? No. So long as you don't get it, you don't feel comfortable. You see, there's jealousy. There's jealousy. So for people who are higher in terms of knowledge, in terms of wealth, in terms of name, we get jealousy. And if that person is very, very high than you don't get jealousy, because you're impossible to reach that level. If somebody is a little bit higher than you, get jealousy, you see. And then with those equal, you develop this wish to compete, you see. And those who are lower than you, then comparing to that person, you become proud, arrogant. Like for example, when a beggar comes, you know, begging something, then even when you give something, you'll give it like this. Okay, take this and go. 100 rupees. Jao, bago. Go, take this and go. Whereas the great teachers, they say, when a beggar comes and begs something, and when you hear the word of begging, give me something, the Bodhisattvas say that is the most beautiful thing they can hear. They are so happy that this is a wonderful moment for me to do something. So they give the money, right? But for us, first of all, we don't give. And then secondly, if we give something, we'll give it by looking down upon that person. That should not be there. Okay? And then when somebody praises you, you get puffed up. You know the word puffed up? You become balloon. Puffed up balloon. There's a Tibetan saying which says, when you get puffed up like a balloon, then there's no room for new information, new knowledge. Right? You get puffed up. And when somebody says some unpleasant thing, you get angry, you get upset, you see. So therefore he says, how can I get any benefit with these childish people? Whatever you do, they are not comfortable. You are not comfortable, in fact. So therefore, if you are able to neutralize, maintain an equal stance, if somebody praises you, don't worry. He's praising me, this person is praising me, but the other person is saying bad things about me. When somebody says bad things about me, it's okay, he says bad things about me, but all my friends saying good things about me, you see. So in this way you equalize or neutralize, when these eight worldly concerns arise in you. Then your life will be much, much, much happier. As I said the other day, that your life is not here to dance at the tune of others' expectations. You are not a doll. Hindi mein bolta hai na Kathputli. You are not Kathputli, You are not a puppet. So you should not be dancing at the tunes of others. You should live your own life with proper understanding, right? And then all these things happen. We are fond of praising oneself, defaming oneself, and then we are very, very fond of hearing those worldly successes. Worldly successes. That's why we keep wanting, oh, my daughter is this, my brother is this, and then, So in this way we end up developing all the non-virtuous qualities. So what he's saying is, based on these eight worldly concerns, you experience a lot of suffering. Therefore it is important not to let your mind controlled by the power of attachment, hatred and so forth. And not only you should not allow your mind controlled by hatred, anger and so forth, but also make sure that you do not associate with those people. Because friends make a lot of impact. As Muchu Thongme Sampo in his 37 Bodhisattva practices, he says that when you associate with somebody, if your negative trends decline, if your positive qualities multiply like waxing moon, then you are associating with a good spiritual friend and regard that spiritual friend highly like your life. Contrarily, when you associate with somebody, if your hatred increases, if your ignorance increases, if your attachment increases, and gradually by associating with these people, your loving kindness reduces, your compassion reduces, then this is a clear indication that you are in company with a destructive, negative friend. Give up such negative friend. Negative friend does not come with a black cloth, bearing fangs and horns on the head. It will never come like that. They will come as a good usual friend by saying, let us go for a nightclub, let us go and drink, and I pay for you. You know, they look very nice. Right? Many people are destroyed by this lure of money. Right? So make sure that you are not in association with such bad friends. Okay? Now how can we neutralize this? For example, the first of the eight worldly concern is that you get very happy when you get the needed food, needed clothing and so forth. When you get those facilities, it's wonderful, it's good, but don't get too excited. Because what you are experiencing in this life, as I already said, is like experience in a dream. For example, if you get a dream of living 100 years and getting all the wonderful facilities, but when you wake up, what is there? Nothing. Like, for example, take the example like based on your respective age, if you are say 30 years old, during the last 30 years of your life, you experience so many things. You must have got angry many times. You must have cried many times. So many things you have experienced. But today when you look back, what is left? What is there? It's like similar to the dream you had last night. Right? So the rest of your life will also go like that. So there is not much point just clinging on to, yes, it's not saying you should not enjoy. You enjoy, but don't get obsessed. Don't cling to that. Don't cling to that. Neutralize it. If you are getting good news today, you can be happy, but don't get too excited because bad news is waiting. If you get bad news today, you will feel upset, but don't get too upset. Good news is waiting. You see, nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. Everything is in a flux. Right? So whether you live a very, very long life or live short life, the experience is the same. Whatever you've experienced is like a dream. So no point developing too much attachment. And not only that, we are talking about practicing morality, we are talking about concentration, we are talking about developing wisdom. And for all these practices, especially for the practice of concentration and meditation, one of the greatest obstructive forces is distraction. Okay? Now distraction means one of the greatest distraction that we experience is because of our attachment to things. You want this, you want that, and for that, the things that you want here and there, it will not come like that. For that you have to work, you have to run. That's why people are running today. Everywhere people are running. Even aeroplane, flight in an aeroplane also is not very fast, you know. Now people are thinking about, at one point they tried to introduce that Concorde. I saw that flight, Concorde. The ordinary aeroplane, if it takes 8 hours between Delhi and Europe, that Concorde will take 3.5 hours, much faster. But unfortunately, if you run too fast, it's risky. So that Concorde had an accident, so it was not successful. So now people are thinking too many things. Oh, we should introduce an aeroplane which doesn't have to run on the runway. It should, like helicopter, take everybody up. So many things are going on. So what I'm saying is, with all these facilities for running faster and faster, we are running faster and faster, but not able to catch the things that we want to catch. That's the problem. Even in all Tibetan texts, there is a saying which says, "Kangban Jorjan Lamna Mazi." That means your feet is very swift, but you are unable to start even from the beginning of your spiritual practice. So where are you running now? See, that's the thing. It's not so much about being busy, not so much about running, but you should be able to get what you want. And that thing that you want to get, you will get only by developing these inner resources and using them. And especially in today's world, when the speed of science and technology is really, really very, very high. You see, the more we run after the speed of the science and technology, the more we get what? Stress, loneliness, not being able to catch up with the job. So many stresses will be there, especially if all your activities are replaced by artificial intelligence. Imagine. So in those times, if you also don't have the inner resources to pull out, what will you do? You will commit suicide. So therefore you need to have this inner resources so that you don't become a slave to the machines. Right now we are all becoming slave to the machines. So the key question is, don't become a slave to the machines. You can use it as a facility whenever it is needed, but don't become a slave to the machines. You should become your own master. And that is possible only when we have strong development of these internal resources. I remember very well a statement by His Holiness Dalai Lama, when for the first time the cable lines came into the room in India, with all those movies, with the naked girls dancing and so forth. People are horrified. India didn't have that system of families sitting together and watching sex movies or naked girls dancing and things like that. People were horrified. What is happening now? So somebody asked His Holiness, this is happening, what should we do? His Holiness did not say, oh, don't, stop all these cable lines. He did not say. He said, build inner resilience. If you build that inner resilience, outside things will not affect you much. If you don't have this inner resilience, then you will become a victim to whatever is coming from outside. So at the end of the day, unless you have that inner resilience, you will not be able to cope with the changing situation, changing difficulties. Right? So therefore, what we need is not only running after wealth, wasting all our money and energy and getting completely distracted, as I said yesterday. If you get distracted only running after name and fame and wealth, you will never get an opportunity to get liberated from suffering, from samsara. Right? And today, unfortunately, even in those days, Shantideva mentions that there will be people who will, for profit and things like that, will not hesitate even to kill their father and mother, which is happening today. It's something that is coming out in the newspaper all the time. For wealth, somebody killed his father, wife, so forth. So contrarily, if you need money, you need facilities, but there should be contentment. Right? So instead of having contentment, if you had one, you need two. If you get two, you need three. Get three, four. Nyasa chukna changsa. When there is a Tibetan saying which says, if you get a place to sleep, then you also need enough space to stretch out your legs and so forth. Okay? And when you get there, then again this is too small, So everybody is now trying to get more and more houses. Right? So there will be no end to your material pursuit if you don't have this internal contentment. And much of the suffering comes through greed. Mahatma Gandhi said there is enough for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed. There's a Tibetan saying which says, look at the example of a king and the beggar, he says. The king has all the riches of kingdom, but still hungry. I need to conquer that neighborly kingdom and things like that. That is the past story, each king trying to control the other one. Still hungry because there is no contentment. The child's beggar, who just his place is just on the street, but still his head is high and singing and dancing. That's why normally you see the beggars singing and dancing. There's also a great inspiration. There's no reason that they should be singing and dancing. They have nothing. No name, no fame, no house, no money, nothing. Why they are singing, why they are dancing? This is a great inspiration for me, at least. When I saw that, I felt, okay, at the end, when you lose everything, the only thing that you have is try to feel good, sing and dance. You see, that is, in Hindi we say, karwa sach, bitter truth. Right? So if the beggars are able to live happily like that, why don't we? I remind myself and also share with my, friends and relatives that we are very lucky. I say this all the time. We are very lucky. We are rich. We have so many things. You see? There is a story of a person who was like lamenting and feeling very sad because he had no proper shoes on his leg. But when he saw somebody without leg, then he felt, oh my goodness, I'm so lucky I have leg. Forget about shoes. That's the thing, you see. You need to realize, as I said yesterday, appreciate what you have and have some contentment. Now that doesn't mean to say that you don't make effort to make further development. You can, especially for other people. For you have one stomach, one mouth. How much you need, really? It's only greed. How much you need? For tomorrow I need. For next year I need. Oh my God, how long you are going to live? Nobody knows, So don't have some contentment. Then second of the Eight Worldly concern is that when you are not able to find your food and clothing and so forth, because of that, you become unhappy. So you should neutralize that feeling of unhappiness by thinking that it's okay. Even if I get all these things, very soon I will lose them, Whether it's food, whether it's clothing, whether it's your friendship, they are not going to be with you for a long time. So to expect that you have this is actually misplaced trust. Right? Then third, when you hear people saying good things about you, hear the words of praises, then you feel very happy. So you neutralize that. Because people, for the sake of name and fame, lose their wealth. Some people, when they hear praises, then they give things away, they lose everything. And for name and fame, people also die. Like how people go to war and get killed with the wish to get the name of a hero. They go to war and get killed, you see. And for fame and name, people even kill themselves. So what is the use of name and fame? Name and fame is just a word. And especially if you die, then what is the use of your name and fame? You may be very, very famous, but on the day when you die, that fame and name will not accompany you, right? So even if somebody praises you, but if it is not beneficial to you, don't pay attention to that. Even if somebody speaks very softly to you, but if it's not beneficial, don't pay attention to that. So all those words of praises, which is not beneficial, don't pay attention to that. Fourth, contrarily, when you hear unpleasant things, if somebody defames you, says negative things about you, feel unhappy. So neutralize that. Because normally when somebody says something, we immediately get unhappy. So instead of immediately reacting, you should find out why this person is saying things like that. How should I react? What kind of reaction is good for me? Take time, take a long breath, as we say. Okay? Then you will be able to find. So normally, without even developing some doubt, as soon as you hear somebody saying bad things to you, immediately bark, just like a dog. Don't be like a dog. Okay? Because sometimes when somebody says unpleasant things to you, it might change your life to become good, to become better, right? And moreover, that unpleasant word will not harm your body. If somebody says you are blind, you will not become blind immediately. It will not harm you. It's just like an echo, as I said yesterday. So why the mind becomes so upset when it hears unpleasant words? So even if that word is unpleasant, but if it is useful, receive it, give it, don't get upset. Then the fifth worldly concern is that you again develop excitement and joy based on your feeling of happiness, feeling of well-being. Here what we need to understand is whatever effort, whatever work we do to get that feeling of happiness, there's no guarantee that that work, that job will bring you that feeling of happiness. And if you say you just want to enjoy that feeling of happiness, not thinking about long-term well-being and happiness, then you should resort to all kind of feel-good practices, like gambling, because it will make you a little bit, it will develop that feeling of happiness, intoxication, and all other unhealthy practices, if you are looking just for feeling of happiness. Right? 6, when we develop feeling of suffering, when we become unhappy, that should be neutralized with the very famous words which Shantideva says, if it is something you can change, don't worry, because you can change it. If it is something you cannot change, no use worrying. By worrying you can't change it. I mean, look at this. So beautiful. 7, when somebody praises you, you feel very happy. And then this text says, the praise and fame will not increase your merit, not lengthen your life, it will not make you powerful, it will not free you from diseases and illness, it will not make you physically healthy. So why you pay so much attention to praises? And when somebody defames you, you feel unhappy, and that should be neutralized. As I said already, when somebody defames you, says bad things about you, don't get discouraged because there are many people who are saying good things about you, right? Okay. So the remaining text we read tomorrow. Let us deal with some questions. Any questions about Buddhism or any other thing? We will discuss. It's important, right? The real instruction comes through discussion and mutual sharing. So we have half an hour for discussion and question answer. Yes?
When you were talking about renunciation, it made me think about the meaning of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Buddhism we're saying that the meaning of life is happiness, and happiness is what we should be striving after. And I think that for most people, when hearing this, they would think that happiness would mean like having a good time, having fun. But I think maybe from the perspective of renunciation, that this is a kind of superficial happiness, and not the kind of happiness that Buddhism is trying to point to. Is this right? And also, how would we distinguish between superficial happiness and happiness?
The English word renunciation is misunderstood by many people. Renunciation does not mean that you give away all your belongings and become beggar overnight. There is a story of somebody who was highly attracted by Milarepa's way of life, who had really nothing, who renounced everything. Physically also. In terms of belonging also, he renounced everything. So there was a practitioner who was very attracted by the Milarepa's way of life, but misunderstood renunciation. So what he did was he threw away all his belongings, material possessions, because his mind was not prepared, not ready like Milarepa. So after just a few days he started suffering. Then he regretted that he gave away all his belongings, and he said, this Milarepa, not only he is a beggar, he turned me a beggar. See? So that is a renunciation misunderstood. The Tibetan word for renunciation basically is ngejung. Ngejung means definite emergence. Ngeper, definite. Jungwa means come out. So renunciation means definite wish to come out from samsara to achieve nirvana. That's renunciation, that is ngejung. So the English word renouncing means abandoning things, giving away things. When you are not ready, don't do that. Okay? Number one. Number two, now when we, as you rightly mentioned, happiness, there are different categories. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas pray that you get all kinds of happinesses. Even with the cool breeze, if you get some kind of happiness, that's also wonderful. You should get it. But don't get obsessed with those fleeting happinesses, primarily pleasures. Normally we make a distinction between pleasure and happiness, but again we are using English words, so I am not so sure. But we make a distinction between pleasure and happiness. Pleasures are related to sensual experiences. Happiness is more related to mental experience. So happiness basically means mental satisfaction. When you do something good, for example, if I give something to somebody, I help somebody, then I feel happy, you see. I didn't get, in terms of money, I may not have got anything in back, but because I have done my duty, I have done my job, so I feel happy, you see. So that satisfaction is called happiness. Right? So it's not fleeting pleasure. So we should make a distinction between. Then even the short-term happinesses are wonderful, but that is not the desired goal. The long-term goal is permanent happiness, long-lasting happiness, from where there is no coming back to the samsara, no sliding back, right? Because this worldly kind of pleasure and happiness, we must have experienced so many times in so many lives. But again, we are here. We do practice, get some happiness, then do all the stupid things, then come back, like that. We did not get that long-lasting happiness. So the purpose of Dharma practice is to get that, even if not nirvana, but at least more reliable happiness. Even when teach secular ethics these days, we talk about secular ethics, even there we are focusing not on sensual pleasures, but some kind of durable mental happiness, which is not there in today's world. People are all running after sensual pleasures, right? So that's the point, yeah. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Sometimes we tell lie.
Huh?
Sometimes we tell lie.
Yeah.
So that someone gets benefit or
Yes.
save somebody.
Yeah.
So is it wrong thing to tell lie?
No, lie, there are many lies. White lie, black lie, and grey lie. In between. So black lie, not good. Grey lie, so. White lie, okay. It is said in the Buddhist text that if a hunter is chasing a deer, and you saw which direction the deer ran, and then suddenly the hunter comes and did you see the deer? Then your answer, just to save the life of that deer, either you say, what deer? Oh, I thought something went, you're telling lie. You saw actually deer running this way. So either you say, yeah, I saw something, but I really don't remember which direction. Something moved. Or you can say, yeah, that way, to save the life. So that is fine. Because it's benefiting other sentient beings, right? Okay?
It's not completely related to the subject, but
Yeah.
When I get angry, I'm very much aware that I'm in anger, but still it's just that the ego comes between that I'm unable to compromise that anger. So it's just like, why should I compromise? Why should I do all the time? Or why should I be understanding than the other people? So it's just like when you're in anger, you're very much aware that you're in anger and you're going to hurt other people. But the ego come in between that. The ego is very strong that, I can't control my anger. That's my first question.
Yeah, let me deal with the first question. Your first question is very good because you're a little bit on an advanced stage. Many people, when they get angry, they have no idea what they're doing, you see. They're really probably unable to think they're angry, but you're able to recognize you're angry, which is a very good thing. Then what about your ego? What is your ego?
Why should I compromise all the time?
Yeah, that's wrong. Because at the end, we all want happiness and peace. So this kind of maintaining, getting angry, and then like fueling the ego, is it going to give you more sustainable peace and happiness? No. And then look at the ego. There's no reason to get puffed up, as I said earlier, because the ego itself is very vulnerable. It's a projection. If somebody says something to you, then you immediately think, how dare this person say these things to me? That's how we react. But if you look at this me, what is there? Nothing. Look at the body, it's so fragile. So fragile. You can see the flesh, the skins, the bones, everything is so fragile. There's nothing, that can stand harms from others. It's so fragile. It's really like bubble, bubble becoming, I am the bubble, nobody can hurt me. It's really like bubble. In the Buddhist text, it talks about bubble. There's nothing. Right? So if you think like that, then it will come down for your well-being, for the well-being of others, and then also thinking about the reality of your psychophysical aggregate. It's so vulnerable, so fragile. There's no reason to think, to project that I'm somebody who can challenge and stand other people's harms. When you have this ego, when you are mad with anger, people jump in front of machine gun. And what do they get? Killed. Nothing else. It's really more or less like that. It's this ego is the right word. Normally ego, positive ego, negative ego, not necessarily bad, but here in this case, I think unwanted negative ego. So that negative ego will destroy you, make you blind. Right? Okay?
How do we recognize the truth of samsara?
How do we?
How do I recognize truth of samsara?
Yeah.
Because Buddha told us it's pain and it's a reason that causes your pain. But sometimes I don't think, sometimes it's a terrible thing. I feel samsara is good.
Yeah. As I already mentioned, yeah. That's normal. You're more honest than rest of us. but it's okay. But samsara basically means not this world. Many people, when they have difficulty in the world, they say, oh, in this world of samsara, Or when they are not very happy with their family, then they say, oh, this is samsara, the family is samsara. No. The real samsara is this conditioned psychophysical aggregate that we have. The body and mind that we have, where we are tied completely. Because of this mind and this body, we get all kind of difficulties and problems. So that is samsara. Because this psychophysical aggregate is projected by negative karma and negative emotions. So that's why we are prone to illness, sickness, negative emotions and so forth. So therefore, but how can we purify that? When we say this psychophysical aggregate is samsara, you cannot say that, okay, I'm going to give away this samsara by jumping from a cliff. But still, the causes for that bondage, the negative karma and action is still there. Your mind will still be there. Nobody can destroy the mind. Body you can destroy. Mind will, the one that really suffers is the mind, not so much about the body. So the mind will be there. So there's no shortcut to put an end to this samsara. The only way to do is to really purify the negative emotions, and as a result, gradually you get a rebirth where your psychophysical aggregate is much more purer and not subjected to negative actions and afflictive emotions. So that's the thing. And then on another level, if you want to see the limitations of samsara, then in the samsara, if you think in a bigger way, in the samsara, with whoever you associate, there will be no certainty. Today you make somebody as your friend, tomorrow that person may become your enemy, or that person may die, that person may cheat you, or even if that person remains good person, still he will not be able to remove all your sufferings. Right? And then with the material pleasures also, when we don't have those material facilities, we want more and more, but how much is how much? Just like drinking the salty water, as I said, somebody said drinking Coca-Cola or whatever, right? So there is no certainty with friendship. There is no satisfaction with material enjoyment. And this psychophysical body, we have to give it up again and again. We die and born and die and born. So this is what we experience in the samsara. And since you want a more reliable, long-lasting happiness, therefore you say, okay, enough. Now I'll try to get something which is more durable, more long-lasting. Right? Okay? Okay, thank you. See you tomorrow.